I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Village President and Board of Trustees for the Village of Burr Ridge. It's October 26, 2015, 7 p.m. To lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we're privileged to have Milana. She's a sixth grader at Burr Ridge Middle School, and according to her principal, Julie Bartell, a very good student. Her favorite subject is math. Her extracurricular activities are volleyball, dance, and she loves to read. She's here with her mother, and she has a brother, Mantis. She likes to travel and has been to Hawaii, Europe, the Grand Canyon, and she likes to go on cruises. Her pets are 2 hamsters, a bunny, and a dog. Milana loves to do crafts. Milana, do you want to come up and lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Trustee Francis?
Here.
Trustee Grasso?
Here.
Trustee Paveza?
Here.
Trustee Bolas?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Schiappa?
Here.
Mayor Straub?
Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk. Residents' comments? Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I moved one up. Resident comments. Is there any residents that wish to address the board? Mr. Gleason?
Do not be afraid. I don't intend to read the book.
I'm glad of that.
I would like to ask the members of this council to recognize the unease that I have with the rules that were adopted to put non-residents' comments down. I frankly believe they were directed at my friend Dolores, the lady from Burr Ridge, whom I remind that I have recently at Notre Dame, recently meaning a couple of years ago, was asked to say a prayer before a gathering of august Notre Dame folks. And all I could think to say was, "Blessed are the troublemakers, for they shall change the world." That's what I believe about my friend Dolores. And I hope that you will reconsider, and I will return at a more auspicious time, because there's a lot of football and politics on my television set at home. And Nancy's off in Wisconsin, and I can get to choose what programs we're going to listen to tonight. So thank you for listening to me, and I will return. Dolores, I think you're good.
Anyone else? Okay. We'll go to the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda. 5 minutes. Approval of regular board meeting of October 12, 2015. B, receive and file draft plan commission meeting of October 19, 2015. 6, ordinances. B, approval of an ordinance rezoning properties from the R1 Single Family Residential District to the R2B Single Family Residential District pursuant to the Village of Burr Ridge Zoning Ordinance Z 16-2015, 7950 Buck Trail Drive, McNaughton Brothers. C, approval of an ordinance granting a special use pursuant to the Village of Burr Ridge zoning ordinance for an amendment to the Estacia Planned Unit Development, Z14, 2015, 100 Harvester Drive, BJF Estancia, LLC. D, approval of an ordinance granting a special use pursuant to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance to allow retail sales of power tools, hand tools, and related items accessory to a warehouse and management office. Z15, 2015, 8080 Madison Street, Black and Decker. 7, resolutions. A, adoption of resolution approving preliminary plot Buck Trail Estates subdivision 7950 Buck Trail Drive. 8, considerations. C, receive and file resignation letter from Public Works General Utility Worker to William Coolis, effective October 13th, 2015. I'm sorry. B, approval of recommendation to award contract for 2015 fall asphalt patching. D, approval of recommendation to hire 2 part-time General Utility Worker 1 employees to fill vacancy created by resignation of full-time General Utility Worker 2, William Coolis. E, approval of request for a raffle and chance license for Pleasantdale PTA and a hosting facility license for Chicago Marriott Southwest at Burr Ridge for the PTA's annual fundraiser on March 5th, 2016. Ticket sales between November 1st, 2015 and March 5th, 2016. Drawing will be at the event on March 5th, 2016. Approval of vendor list in the amount of $111,600, 37 cents for all funds, plus $191,023.71 for payroll, for a grand total of $302,624.08, which includes no special expenditures. So at this time, I'd like an approval of the consent agenda, 5AB, 6B, C, D, 7A, 8B, C, D, and E, F.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Bolas?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, consent agenda is passed. At this time, I'd like to call the public hearing for an annexation agreement, Spectrum, 15W 891st Street and 9101 Kingery Highway. Mr. Pollack.
Good evening. At your second meeting in September, the board directed staff to prepare an annexation agreement and schedule the hearing for the property at 91st and Kingery Highway. The annexation agreement includes an agreement between the property owner and the village to annex the property into the village, to zone the property to the O2 district and the B2 district, and the approval of final plans for the construction of a 190-unit senior living facility on 15.7 acres and 12 units of which are in 6 cottage buildings, the remaining 178 units in a 2-story multi-unit building. The agreement also includes approval of zoning for commercial development on 3.4 acres located at the corner of Kingery Highway and 91st Street, with the final plans to be subject to further review by the Plan Commission and by the Village Board. The agreement includes the improvement of 91st Street with curb, gutter, left turn lanes, and a sidewalk. Also, as required by village codes, the agreement includes payment of a fee in lieu of the required sidewalk on Kingery Highway, and payment of annexation impact fees in the amount of $206,057, $206,057.14. I would call your attention to the recommendation regarding the sidewalk on Kingery Highway. As noted, or as previously reported, the Plan Commission had recommended approval of the zoning. The Pathway Commission has reviewed the sidewalks as they do for all planned unit developments and subdivisions. The Pathway Commission recommended the construction of a sidewalk on 91st Street as well as a sidewalk on Kingery Highway. At that time, the estimated donation for the sidewalk was only $16,257. That was based on simple cost of concrete at $5 a square foot. However, given the grading and other circumstances with this sidewalk, it was determined that the actual cost of the sidewalk would be $35,930, and the developer has agreed to provide that as a contribution in lieu of the Kingery Highway sidewalk. As noted, the Pathway Commission is recommending that the sidewalk be built. However, given the additional dollars that are being donated for this sidewalk, as well as the fact that this is not part of the pathway plan for the village, it is staff's recommendation that the board accept the donation in lieu of the Kingery Highway sidewalk. And again, the sidewalk on 91st Street would be built by the developer. I understand that the engineer for the developer is here, may want to address that issue. I believe all the other issues in the annexation agreement have been reviewed and discussed by the petitioner as well as staff, and we are in agreement with those conditions. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there school impact fees that were paid?
No, not
Not
for
with
this
this.
type of development.
Okay. And is the Pathway Commission in agreement with the donation of $35,000?
Well, we didn't have the opportunity to take that back to them because they didn't have a meeting. When they had their meeting in September, they had recommended the construction of the sidewalk, but that was at the lower fee. Commissioner Hawk is present as a member of the Pathway Commission. If you'd like her to address that.
Sure.
Yeah, originally, we didn't want to collect $16,000 for a sidewalk that we knew at some point in time we might connect to something. The annexation, it would never be on our overview of planned sidewalks because we didn't have that property in Burr Ridge. So, I mean, thinking of that, not, you know how we do those things. So, but yeah, we were excited to get $35,000. So, I would be for it.
Great.
I'm not sure about the rest of the group, but I know Elaine was for it, wasn't she? So that would be two of us.
Okay.
So that's helpful.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Question, Lisa? Was there any sidewalk on Kingery Highway Route 83 alongside of Falling Waters? That was in your master plan?
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
No.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Anyone in the audience?
Close the hearing.
Will we close the public hearing?
Pardon?
Will we close the public hearing?
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Trustee Francis? Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Bolis?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
6-0.
Public hearing is closed.
6A.
Under ordinances, consideration of an ordinance authorizing annexation agreement Spectrum Senior Citizen Living, 91st Street and Kingery Highway, PIN numbers 1002, 400, 008, 1002, 400, 009, and 1002, 400, 010. Any comments?
I think we covered this very thoroughly at the last meeting, so if there are no additional comments, I'd make a motion to approve the ordinance authorizing the annexation agreement.
Okay, the one question, if I'm with the going back and forth, the highway along Kingery Highway, the money for that is gonna be.
The sidewalk.
The sidewalk, we're gonna have that money put in escrow, right?
Correct.
Okay.
In the pathway fund,
Of course.
yes.
So, just to be clear, we're receiving $35,930 in lieu of construction of a sidewalk.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, roll call.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I have a
You have a
motion, I
second?
need a second.
You have a second.
Thank you. Trustee Grasso?
Yes?
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. Motion approved 6-0. Okay, 8A, consideration of Plan Commission recommendation to approve a special use to permit additions to an existing hotel and the remodeling of the building facade and for variations to increase the maximum floor area ratio to approximately .42 rather than the permitted .40, and to reduce the required parking from approximately 212 parking spaces required to 193 parking spaces provided. Z13, 2015, 15W300, South Frontage Road, Vega Hospitality. Mr. Pollard.
Thank you. At its, excuse me, at its October 19th meeting, the Plan Commission held a public hearing and approved a motion recommending approval of a request for special use approvals and variations for the hotel at 15W300 South Frontage Road. This is formerly known as the Quality Inn, presently called the Oaks, and soon to be renamed the Crown Plaza Hotel to become a flag for that hotel chain. Special use approvals are for the addition of a hotel and the plan approval that's required for the new buildings in the B2 district. Variations are to allow an increase in the maximum floor area ratio from 0.4 to 0.42, approximately 3,000 additional square feet of floor area, and parking variation to reduce the required parking from 212 parking spaces to 193 parking spaces. As I noted, the Plan Commission does recommend approval of this petition. They noted that this property has historically been used as a hotel, and its continued use as a hotel is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the existing development on this property and in the area. The additional floor area does not add significantly to the intensity of the use. They're not adding any new guest rooms, and most of the additional floor area is just for circulation and additional office rooms to allow the lobby area to become bigger. The parking variation is minimal, and the Plan Commission did recommend that the overflow parking either be provided by written agreement with the adjacent property owner or that additional parking be constructed on the property. After the Plan Commission hearing last Monday, staff discussed this condition further, and our concern is that constructing the additional parking recommended by the Plan Commission would kick in requirements for stormwater detention that may be impractical or even unfeasible for a property such as this. Staff worked with the property owner to come up with 10 more parking spaces so that in essence their parking variation is for 7 spaces. They would only be short about 7 spaces from the required parking, and staff is recommending that the Plan Commission recommendation be modified to eliminate the requirement for additional parking and that the variation be accepted as requested with the revised plan showing 205 total parking spaces. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and Commissioner Hawk is here as the representative of the Plan Commission for this item.
Doug, in the sketch in our packet, all the red marks are where the additional spots are going?
Yes. And there's a plan. This, today I received a revised plan that's a little better done with the actual plan. Additional parking spaces marked are shown on the plan. In this area, over here, and a couple spaces. They're able to come up with 10 additional parking spaces. The actual numbers, I think in the staff summary, it was wrong. They currently have 195, or they had 195 parking spaces. This would get them up to 205, and the required parking is 212.
And no landscape islands, right?
Well, they still have some, they'd still add several landscaping islands, 4 islands in front of the building and 2 south of the building nearest the residential side of the property. They would not be adding islands on the, there was 2 islands contemplated for the east side of the property and 2 for the north side of the parking lot in the back of the building, but staff felt like those were the least impactful in terms, or least beneficial in terms of landscaping the property and its outside appearance, and so given their parking shortage, we thought better off to sacrifice those 4 spaces, 4 islands, 4 parking spaces. But we did not, I mean, they are bringing the front of the property into compliance with the 4 new landscape islands being added.
As well as all lighting in the parking lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Louisa. Doug, did you want to mention the fence?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. The other issue that the Plan Commission recommended, or another condition the Plan Commission recommended, was that a solid fence be provided along the south lot line. And there was some disagreement in terms of the feedback that the commission got at the public hearing. There was a letter received requesting a solid fence. There was other testimony provided requesting an open fence with landscaping. Staff's recommendation was an open fence with landscaping. I guess staff and the petitioner are looking for your direction on that issue. Staff's concern with a solid fence is that it's adjacent to a street, and Burr Ridge typically does not allow solid fences adjacent to a street yard. And we feel that an open fence with landscaping that would provide the screening for headlights and that sort of thing would be more attractive than a solid wood or vinyl fence. But again, the Plan Commission recommended a solid fence because of their concerns that headlights and for additional visual screening.
Where would the fence go, Doug?
The fence is shown on one of the site plans. It's this line here. It starts some 40 feet, 30 to 40 feet north of the south lot line, comes across the back of the parking lot and extends up, and it blends into landscaping that would be provided in this area and in this area.
Either fence would be 5 feet tall?
I think the Plan Commission recommends 6 feet.
6 feet tall?
6 feet tall, right.
Was it ever brought up to have a landscaping type fence with bushes rather than just a solid metal fence or wood fence?
Well, what landscaping is being provided no matter what, whether it's a solid fence or an open fence. If it's an open fence, what staff was recommending was brick piers spaced every 30 feet or so, and with aluminum faux wrought iron fencing with landscaping to buffer it and to screen the undercarriage and the headlights of cars.
Any other comments or questions?
The increase in space is, it's not rooms. Is it reception area, or is it just office space, or what is the increase in space?
There's an addition here that is strictly offices.
Okay.
And that allows them to make their lobby bigger. And then the addition in the back does add, I think, 1,400 square feet of banquet space. And then it has hallways and restroom facilities.
That added space is hallways and
Well, there's
restrooms?
part of it that is banquet that does add to the parking requirement.
Okay.
That's why the parking requirement's going up by some 15, 20 spaces.
Okay.
So is that the landscape plan? Doesn't show any landscaping on the south side of the building.
It's a condition of the Plan Commission to landscape that strip.
And that would be in the right-of-way then?
No, they've got 5 feet. This scale, you can't see it very well, but there's 5 feet between the curb and the property line.
Any other questions? Yes?
Mark Thomas, 7515 Drew Avenue. First off, I want to say Sanjay has gone to great lengths to accommodate us. The only exception that I have, and I brought it up at the previous meeting, was the solid fence. I believe we do need a fence. We have people, actually, we've had people driving through the grass back there, but and then we had several people just walking through the area there. But I don't think a solid fence is in keeping with Burr Ridge. Basically, that's going to be kind of our front yard. It's going to be very visible, and I think an open fence would look a lot better. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
You heard what Doug said. Would you be in agreement with that?
Yes.
Kind of
Yep.
wrought iron with piers and then landscaping?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes?
Cheryl Jackmini, 220 75th Street. We are the only home that is directly behind the hotel, the only home. We have many neighbors up and down Drew. We are the only people that are directly right behind there. With the additional area back there, the reason we and the Servetus has asked for a solid fence was to help buffer the noise from the bigger ballroom area. And they did definitely intend to put up landscaping, possibly on both sides of the fence for beautification. We would prefer a solid fence, but that's, it's going to be what it's going to be. That was the reason we requested it, though. And back to the people driving through, they hop that curb all the time. There was a time, 28 years ago, when we first moved into our home, that line of bushes was so thick, you couldn't even walk between them. And over the years, and nothing to do with him, that line of bushes deteriorated into the mess that the dead mess that it is now. So, and that has nothing to do with Sanjay or his lack of taking care of them. So that's the reason our personal request. Yes, it would, of course, a more solid fence would cut down on headlights. Honestly, the only time you get headlights is on a Friday or Saturday night, and after all these years, we're kind of immune to that. It's the driving over our yard out of the hotel. It's dangerous. It's dangerous when people have had a little too much party and decide to leave out of the round areas. So that was our reason for the request for a solid fence. Thank you.
Yes?
Question on the fence. The solid fence, that would be a wooden type stockade fence? That was what the Plan Commission was recommending?
They left the type of solid fence at the discretion of the staff. They talked about a vinyl fence.
Vinyl fence?
Or wood fence,
Okay.
but solid.
So a wood fence would require maintenance, periodic maintenance. A vinyl fence may not be in keeping with Burr Ridge. It's my personal preference for an aluminum fence. Those require no maintenance with pillars, some type of decorative masonry pillars, and then appropriate landscape screening to prevent the headlights from going into the neighbors' yards. I think that would look very nice and provide some natural screening. and blend in with the neighborhood well. I think it'd be a nice transition. So, and if the petitioner is willing to go either way, then I would support the open fence with appropriate solid year-round landscaping.
Yes.
The opening of the slats in the fence would not be enough so that a person can get through, correct?
Right.
Question, putting in a solid fence would, when we don't allow solid fences, so is this a variation that would then be granted?
It's, in a commercial district, it's at the discretion of the Plan Commission and the Village Board to approve fences. All fences require, it can be, it's my belief it can be approved without a special use or variation, but it does require approval by the Plan Commission and the Village Board.
Well, I mean, I heard about the notion of letting the developer decide. I think maybe you'd want to decide.
No, we would decide, but
Yeah.
my point was that he's willing to go put either type of fence in, according to the notes. And if that's the case, then I would lean towards the open fence. That's what I meant.
What was the projection of the Plan Commission when they discussed the open or the closed fence?
The Plan Commission recommended a solid fence.
They recommended the solid fence. Now, we're talking about consideration of the Plan Commission recommendation now. Are we talking closed or open fence? I think we've got to.
I concur with an open fence as staff has suggested, the open fence with the stone pillars or the brick pillars.
I agree.
I think that would look nice.
Open fence with heavy landscaping.
Yes.
Does someone want to make a motion to that effect? Yes.
Why did the planning commission want the solid fence?
I think they were, Commissioner Hawk can maybe answer that. My opinion was that they were erring on the side of being more careful and being absolutely certain that there be no headlights shining through.
Okay.
Is that fair?
The landscaping would be mature enough that the headlights won't shine through from the beginning, correct?
Right.
So would either fences put it installed would be an improvement over what's there now,
Absolutely.
as far as headlight screening and so forth, and noise.
Yeah. And as you heard from both residents who spoke, the main thing is to keep people and cars from crossing that line.
Yes.
Of course, with an open fencing, even with the shrubs being planted there, they have to be maintained and replaced if and when they die, right?
Yes.
So is there also something that is understood that goes with the territory, that if we approve an open fence,
Yes.
that they will maintain and replace greenery as needed?
Anytime the village requires landscaping as a condition of a special use or a variation or whatever, staff takes a position that that has to be maintained in perpetuity. Otherwise, they're in violation of the approval. So yes, they will have to maintain that as a condition of this approval.
Thank you.
But Doug, didn't you say that either fence would receive extensive landscaping?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anyone in the audience? Board, could I have a motion? Motion to approve the Plan Commission's recommendation to approve the special use, but instead of a permanent fence, we would have an open fence.
So moved.
Is there a second? Roll call?
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Scalpa?
Yes.
6-0.
The motion passes 6-0. Other considerations for announcement, deliberation, or discussion only, no official action will be taken.
I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that DuPage County Zoning Board of Appeals tomorrow is hearing has a public hearing for a gun range that is wanting to open up on 91st Street, I believe behind McDonald's there. And the notice says it's a premise for a gun range, firearm sales, sales of firearms and ammunition, an ancillary gun range. And I personally am not in favor of it. We haven't made a decision as a board how we would handle it, but I don't think that's a great location for a gun range. It's very close to a school, to two schools.
I think you've got, right, you're in the vicinity of two schools.
Correct.
Well, I'm glad trustee Bowles brought this up. I think we had it in a Friday memo, just to alert you to the issue. This is normally outside our planning jurisdiction, but obviously it is a concern. It's a concern of Doug and I. It's a concern of the police chief as well. We've talked about it. I've also talked to the school superintendent down there at District 180, and he has concerns as well. I guess the hearing is tomorrow, Doug, on this tomorrow night. So it doesn't allow us any opportunity to prepare a formal resolution, and obviously we can't add things to the agenda, but if there's a consensus, I think what we could do is prepare a letter that we could fax over or email over tomorrow indicating our concern, if everybody's in agreement.
I think it's a definite concern.
Concern or opposition?
Well, I can't make any motions, but if you feel opposition, we'll say opposition.
I just don't think having it that close to schools is the right thing.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you guys brought it up.
Schools, residences?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, I have a strong opposition.
Is it's not only a gun club, but it's, I guess there's sales of ammunition and weapons as well, so.
I'm reading the notice. It says, conditional approval, gun range and firearm sales, sale of firearms and ammunition, and ancillary gun range.
Right.
6 p.m. tomorrow in Wheaton.
6, okay.
6.
Okay, well, I will work with Doug and we'll prepare that letter so they get it by tomorrow afternoon at the latest.
Thank you.
Any other considerations? Resident comments? Reports and communications from village officials? Non-resident comments? Yes, Dolores.
Good evening. This is for you, Tony. You weren't here when I passed it. I refer you to the, you know, you need a stool here for short people. I have to stand on tippy-toe. I refer you to the minutes of the May 28th, 2013 board meeting, which I distributed before the meeting started. If you look at the paragraph that says audience, Mr. Straub mentioned for the first audience portion of the agenda this evening, it will be limited to items on the current agenda, and those permitted to speak would be restricted to current residents, business owners, and former trustees. I am a 14-year former trustee, which I suspect you all know by now. I'd like to finish the remarks that I had here. This is the third time that I wasn't able to finish. The board might want to keep in mind that, according to the Illinois Municipal Handbook, quote, municipal officials should be aware that they are liable for potential civil rights suits if they discriminate in the manner in which they allow or seek to limit public criticism. The courts have held that elected officials do not possess legislative immunity for actions taken during the public time. I definitely think that what you enacted on September 14th, Section 2.67, discriminates in the manner in which they allow or seek to limit public criticism. You have certainly limited me. I would have made comments on the development at 7905 or 7950 Buck Trail Drive, and I would have had comments on the expansion of the hotel that you just discussed. I would like to ask, who is paying for the $2 million makeover for the village center? That was passed a few months ago, but I didn't hear anything said about how it was going to be financed. And secondly, in the discussion of the development at 7950 Buck Trail Drive, at the last board meeting, Trustee Grasso said it would improve the area. I really resented that comment. That is near the area where we lived. And let me point out, on the north side of 79th Street, you have ambiance. East of that is Chasemore. On the south side, you have Burr Oaks Glen South, Buck Trail Drive, and the Allborn House on the corner. And then we lived a little ways down on County Line, which is now Cross Creek. I was really offended by that comment. I think that that area does not need improvement. It's a very nice area. We don't all need $2 million homes, which is what is being proposed for Buck Trail Drive. I would like a response on how this village, when according to the last board meeting, you had to postpone some improved capital projects, how can you finance a $2 million makeover for the village center? Thank you.
To quickly answer your question, Dolores, the village has nothing to do with the finances of the village center. It's all privately financed. It's all privately financed. The village has nothing whatsoever to do with the financing of the village center.
Okay.
Never has.
Very good.
That's why we didn't go into detail on it. The monetary items are not a part of the village board agenda.
You know, the point of that ordinance that you passed at the last board meeting is simply that you do not want to hear any criticism. That's what it boils down to. There's no point in my speaking after the board action has been taken. Thank you.
Question?
Yes,
Let's say for like this evening, we were talking about the hotel and the modifications to the hotel. Would Ms. Cezek or any other non-resident be allowed to speak when you're asked for audience comments?
The answer would be no under the current ordinance.
So a non-resident would not speak?
That's correct.
Clarify that, thank you.
Well, unless they had some direct relationship to the project, like they were a
Across the
business
street.
owner or,
No.
yeah, exactly.
No,
Or
I
if it was
understand.
right on the border, and then it would be up to the discretion of the mayor to
Okay.
decide that.
Because when you ask for audience comments, it's not clear, in my mind. You're not specifying resident audience comments or non-resident audience comments. We're asking for comments on a particular agenda item. So,
I'm sure
okay.
they'd have
Just
no
wanna
trouble
be clear on
speaking
that.
if
Thank you.
if we're doing something like the 8080 Madison Street, if one or two of the property owners in the vicinity,
I understand.
could
I know.
speak, whether they leased or not, but they have an active interest, direct interest.
Of course. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn, roll call?
Trustee Scalpa.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Bolus.
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa.
Yes.
Trustee Grasso.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
6-0.
Meeting adjourned.